Coffee with a Capper. We've got the title sponsor, and I'll pick on him forever until we actually have people in the room and he can offer coffee. Brad Kelly from Annie Mac Home Mortgage owes everybody in the market center at least, carry the 4, divide by 3, like 16 cups of coffee at this point. But we'll get there eventually.
All at once.
Yeah. We have Stephanie from Worklife Realty is joining us. We're going to talk to her about you now have 3 boys in the house, right? You have
Well, my husband.
twin boys and the husband. Well, Janina would say that she has 2 sons, 3 boys, and 3 cats that
Yes,
she all wants
but
to
all the
yeah.
things.
Yes. So we're going to have Brad obviously bring us up to date on all of the lending news that he has to share with the exciting growing interest rates. I don't know how much they tweaked up this morning, but we certainly want to have a conversation about that, because if you have buyers that are waiting, they should wait less or wait faster. However we want to put it. And then we'll get into Stephanie and 5 years, I believe we're about to talk about you celebrating with the cool kids up on the lake. So we'll get to that in a second. Brad, thanks for joining us. What's going on, buddy? Have you packed yet?
What?
Have you packed yet?
Hey, easy now. Come on.
We're not going to go there. We're having some transportation issues with Orlando, but we're not going to get into it, Brad. Go ahead.
Hey, are we leaving today? Is that what it is? Nate changed his mind?
Nate keeps moving it up. I think we're leaving yesterday. Yeah. Let's get down to South Carolina. Go ahead.
So everything's great in the mortgage world. Rates going through the roof, like as fast as they can. It's awesome. I've been doing this for a long time, and I haven't seen anything like this before. Yesterday, at mortgage speak, we lost 83 basis points, which basically, if you figure a point is 100 basis points, and a point usually buys you a quarter, we lost 83 yesterday. So your rates yesterday went up almost a quarter. Wow. Just in a day.
Wow.
A lot of that has to do with and I'm looking up at a screen above that is a big write-up about the Feds and what they're having to say. So basically what's happened through COVID and everything that's been going on is the Feds have amassed $30 trillion worth of bonds and mortgage-backed securities. That they've been doing that to keep rates down, to help commerce and things of that nature, and basically keep money moving in a positive direction. Well, now they're like, oh, we want to get rid of all that. So, I know it's hard for me to figure out how to, manage paying gas for 3 vehicles in our household right now.
I feel your pain, brother.
I can't even imagine how you go about offloading $30 trillion worth of bonds and things of that nature. And that's a lot of what's going on. So yesterday, one of the Feds spoke up and basically said that on the Fed rate, which is different than mortgage rates, that they want to see a 100 basis point hike by July 1st. So you're basically looking at going from 0 now to 1% in 5 months?
5 months.
Is what they want to do, which in that 5-month period, you've only have a few Fed meetings. So typically they raise rates at the Fed meetings, and typically it's like a quarter. They go up 25 basis points in a Fed meeting. Well, if you've only got 3 Fed meetings between now and July 1st, how do you get to 100 basis points? Well, that would be, 50, 25, 25. Or this lovely Fed decided to throw in the idea, which the market loves, things that have never happened before and change and whatnot. He also threw in the idea that, well, I don't see why we need to have a meeting to do a hike. So we may just randomly toss in a 25 basis point hike between meetings, which the market, and I'm getting super analytical about it, but basically the market, as far as rates are concerned and the mortgage world is concerned, they build in those changes leading up to these Fed meetings with the expectation of knowing what's going to happen.
Right.
Well, if they're just going to throw in, hikes in between meetings and things of that nature, then nobody has any idea what's going on, which causes chaos. And bonds and mortgage-backed securities do not like chaos. That's bad. Yep. So it's going to be an interesting ride this year.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on things. Tell your clients that if they're looking, they should be looking faster, as Tim likes to put it, and and obviously try to get things tied up and locked in as soon as possible, because my expectation is rates are going to see a climb throughout this year. Next year is a different animal. We'll see what happens there, but they're definitely going up this year. And along with that, I'm sure Stephanie can relate to this, that the inventory is also the other challenge there. It's like, okay, hurry up, find a house. Oh, wait, there aren't any.
Yeah.
So good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, so chunk it down for somebody who's listening and hearing you talking about the rates moving up and quarter points. What is that doing directly to the monthly payment? And what, like we always talk about, we want to make sure the agents that are watching today understand, like your buyer is going to get interest rated out of their purchase because their mortgage payment is going to climb just enough that they're not going to be able to afford it. Or what they're shopping for last month, next month could be a wildly different animal because of what they can now afford. Right? So
So let's just use simple math here.
He's got his abacus out. Very exciting. We should have an overhead camera so we can see you using your abacus. Slide the beads.
So on $250,000 loan, a quarter in rate is just shy of $40 a month.
Okay.
Which may not sound like a lot, $40 a month. I mean, there's probably people that spend $40 a month on coffee, or whatever else, coffee at the capper,
Yeah, we haven't seen that from you, but that's okay. We'll get to that later. Yeah. Yeah.
$40 a month in buying power is, so you figure $5,000 worth about $25 a month. So you're close to $10,000 in buying power you lose by the rates going up a quarter. So basically, all your buyers yesterday lost $7,000 in buying power. So
And it's going to change again.
Yeah, and
keep
today
moving.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's what I wanted to impress upon people. It could be we could be looking at $7,000 every other day over the course of the next few months, and then suddenly like, oh, we could afford 410 when we started our search, Steph, and Steph's like, yeah. So now you can afford half a parking spot in Boston, but we can head down there if you want to take a look. Yeah, So
exactly.
Yeah, horrifying and true. So please stay in touch with your lender. Brad and his team are here to help. Do I just keep giving out your number, Brad? Is that what I should do? Even though I know
that's fine.
There's been other numbers, 603-396-3198. Now that the football season's over, he will probably be upright and relatively sober on Sundays if you do want to call him for that. But he specializes in parking lot pre-approvals at Gillette Stadium.
Well, now it's hockey rink pre-approvals.
Yeah, there's that. Yes, yeah. So if he sounds like he's being chased by the police, he's just getting checked by kids that are younger than him. Because God bless Brad, he still plays men's hockey league. Yep, awesome, buddy. All right, are you escaping for lunch? Are you leaving now? Are we going black screen on you?
I'm good for a little bit. I want to listen to Stephanie and make faces at her while she's talking.
I love that. So so just so everybody knows, Steph apparently got a new computer, which we're celebrating, but she's not using it. She's on Brendan Conley's computer because her new computer, I don't know. What did you get a Chromebook? It's a rather successical team up there. Tell me you didn't get a Chromebook.
It was not a cheap computer either. Like, I had something to do with accessing camera and microphone on this site. I don't know. It's beyond me. I mean, Brendan's going to work on it.
Yeah, and I don't want to know where Brendan's notebook has been. I have no idea. Yeah, Lord knows what his camera's been doing. But okay.
Brendan's camera's wide open.
Yes. Yeah, wide open. Also a hockey player that's probably checking Brad on a regular basis. Yes. Awesome.
But thankful for my work husband to step in and help me out.
Yeah, he's figuring it out. Awesome. So Steph, when you and I first met and when I meet with agents on a regular basis, I always hit you guys with get me from high school graduation to this conversation. And a lot of people that are seeing your face for the first time seated in one place, not running around doing real estate as your team does. Walk us through that conversation. I know you live in beautiful downtown Chickenboro, but bring everybody else up to speed. Where did you grow? Where did high school? All the things. Get us through there.
So I grew up much where I am now. I grew up in Wolfboro. I think there's a little bit of a secret sauce to selling your backyard that you know where the secret spots are and all of those things. So, growing up there, went to high school and went to UNH. I was a nutrition degree, so had a sciencey brain, thought I was going to, be in a lab or helping the world that way.
Sure.
I worked in so I turned out to be a nutritionist, worked for community health for a bit after college. And I was the girl at the hospital that, within the cement walls, in between clients, I would take a lap because I couldn't sit still.
Mm-hmm.
And they would see me walking the laps, and I was just getting burnt. I mean, I felt like it wasn't the place for me. I mean, I had very limited growth. I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Kind of that whole thought process. So my husband and I, at the time we met in high school, got married. We bought a house that we're still in now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not loving it. So it was like, what can I do? And now my work husband, he's actually my best friend's husband.
Yep.
Knew him outside of real estate before all of this.
Yep.
And he had jumped into real estate. I actually also knew Bree.
Mm-hmm.
We had worked at the Common Man together before real estate again ever came in after college. So knew Bree kind of surfacely, socially in that way. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe I'll get my real estate license. I don't know. It's definitely going to get me out of these cement walls and doing something different. So I took kind of a little bit of a leap and said, well, screw it. I'm just going to go get the license. I took Shannon's class at night after work in Portsmouth. And that was, 6 years ago now.
Sure.
And then my biggest jump was, I talked to Bree, and Brendan at the time had already hopped on with Bree as well, and saw what they had kind of going on. Brendan had been there for like 5 or 6 months maybe. And I said, I don't know if I can make the leap. I don't know yet. And Bree was like,
I really like Bree, but Brendan, I don't know if I want to deal with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can make the leap. Like, I just don't know. And she said, I can pay you pennies, really, to be my admin if you want to see if you like it. And I was like, sure. So I did that. I was an admin for probably 5 months. I got my license, and from February to July, I was in production, beating the pavement down and doing that whole thing. So it was a pretty throw myself into the experience, but I don't know if I would have had it another way. You got to have some grind in you to feel like you earned your wings a little bit, I think. So there's always that aspect. But then, then there's the story of Worklife Realty, and started at the garden center, and now we're here, and it's evolving. It's a constant evolution for sure.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on 7 years since Bree joined the company, and then I remember being at the deli, and this kid in khakis and a button-down shirt and a tie and a golden retriever walks up, and he starts talking, and she's like, yeah, that's Brendan. I really like him. I think he'd be a great fit, and he was playing elsewhere at the time, and I'm like, okay, so let's finish our sandwiches. And you're going to get back to the office, and you're going to set an appointment with him. And and then 20 seconds later, you show up, and now you guys have grown into, I think, 5 salespeople, 2 operational people. The nicest, I'm saying this so Nathan hears me, the nicest brick and mortar in our entire footprint. You guys have the coolest office, first of all, and the greatest sign. Let me pick on Nate because it's fun and I love him. The sign
is about the size of the building.
The sign at the Meredith office is like a fire exit sign in any municipal building. Yeah. When we first got I don't. There's some story behind why it's that small. I don't know. Because Nate can stand next to it and put his elbow on it. I'm not sure. The sign at your office is like the entrance to Jurassic Park. It is the most amazing thing. Absolutely gorgeous, remarkably obnoxious, because as you're coming down into Center Harbor, you can't miss it.
Oh, yeah.
And now you guys have done some work upstairs, added dormers and all that kind of stuff upstairs.
Yes. So the physical building, I think Bree would say the physical building is now done. We've dormered the upstairs. There's 2 more offices and kind of a education space in the middle. Yeah. The basement's getting an overhaul, so that's going to have all our swag and signs.
Nightclub. Yeah. DJ and all that stuff. Dry ice, velvet ropes. Yeah.
Yep. And then we have another project because I don't think we stop, but out back is all blasted
heard
up
about that. Is that for public consumption, or are we just going to have a ribbon cutting later? Can you talk about that?
It's definitely out there. I mean, we are adding parking We're putting an outdoor pavilion with bathrooms, outdoor kitchen, big, huge screen for outdoor classes, fire pit. It's definitely, I think the goal of it, like COVID did for so many things, there was a desire to have outdoor spaces to use, and there was none of that really here. So we're creating a space. Our goal is that the community can use it, not just us. We would love to have events there, of course, but anybody, a board meeting to I want to say a board meeting to a birthday party, but I don't know if we're going to go that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be nice. So I think by spring, it'll kick off by summer. So
just picturing the way, if we're going to make it commensurate with the sign that you put out front. When I heard you guys talking about this, and then I had a conversation with Bree, and Brendan mentioned it, I'm thinking, I know that Bree has season tickets to the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion, and I'm like, oh, she's just going to have John Mayer in her backyard now. It's going to be that level, that big parking, right? Yeah. You guys do Food Truck Tuesdays. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's super cool. So what kind of, I guess this plays right back into the title of your team, lake life and the whole lifestyle conversation. So what kind of opportunities, like you talked about, what the possibilities with that pavilion are, and the way you're building out the campus of your mega agent office, what does that afford you guys to do with your conversations? And how do you guys plus that to make your business and your engagement with the civilians around the entire lake? Because you guys do have people all over the place. How does that change your opportunity to engage with the community?
I think the biggest thing is getting the physical body here, having the conversation with people. If people asking about what the space is and us explaining to them, hey, listen, if you need to utilize this location for a meeting, happy to do it. It's kind of that foot in the door. And it allows for the conversations to start. I mean, yes, we are all involved. A big part of our mission is being involved in the community and sitting on boards and organizations. So outside of just our natural networking with those people, we now have a space that we can host, and we can invite them here. And it doesn't hurt that our giant sign, Jurassic Park sign, is in the background when they pull in, that it's here. So they see it and it's in their face. If they come every Tuesday to get a cheeseburger or something at the food truck, it's not an accident that Lake Life Realty is behind there. The more people mention our name, the better it is. So the more we can add on to that and physically get bodies here, it's a benefit.
And if you think I'm spending too much time talking about the sign, you just haven't seen the sign yet. So I know there's spotlights on the sign. It's also backlit, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's all LED inside.
Yeah,
it glows.
Super cool. Super cool. Yeah.
Look at my.
If you could get Bree to give the card from the company that you guys hired to Nate, just so just in case. Because we do have another building happening in York, and I pray that sign's better than the one that anyway.
Doesn't she have an inside connection with a landscaping company? I think
no, never, not at all.
I mean, the thing is, though, we will say the town approved it all. Like, people are always like, it's all legal, it's all done right. I mean, we went as big as we could, but it's all above board.
Yeah, I mean this in the nicest of terms. It is so remarkably obnoxious. It's amazing. It's the whole layout. The building is super cool because it's log cabin style, right? And it's true. It's not just faux log cabin. It's true log cabin.
Oh yeah, it's got a whole. It has residential zoning here too. It's funny, when we first bought it, it has a full kitchen downstairs. It didn't look quite too much like an office initially. And Brendan and I were here one night, kind of late. Someone came in, stopped by. We were the only ones here sitting at the little high top table. Yeah. And someone came in. They're like, welcome to the neighborhood.
That's really
thinking
funny.
We moved in, and we were like, oh, no, this is a business. We were establishing it, but no. Then the sign went in, and it's awesome. I mean, you can live here if you wanted to.
One of the biggest changes for you on a personal level, and I know he's probably still in the room trying to fix your notebook, the Chromebook that you shouldn't have bought, apparently. I know that the both of you, I know that he's got number 2 on the way. And you and your husband just decided to get it over with immediately and had 2 automatically. So how much has that changed? What's been the biggest challenge for you as young parents with 2 short people now, and balancing all that? And then what's been the leverage and I guess just the emotional support that you're getting from your compadre, that you guys joined the team so closely together, growing your families at the same time? What have been the biggest challenges for you? And then what's been the blessing of the support of having him on your team and being able to share that? And honestly, your family and his family are super close as well. So that's also a benefit. Exactly. But talk to me more about that.
No, I mean, outside of it, when I first got pregnant too, I think back, like I had a little panic attack going, I don't get maternity leave in real estate. Like it's no
Yeah.
one's paying me to just take time off. So there was a little anxiety with that. Like financially, obviously you look at your bank account and you do all those things, but
Bree's looking at your team agreement like, this wasn't in your growth plan. Yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
and the reality was, I mean, we had to kind of reinvent how that looked
Sure.
because I turned to her and I made the decision, listen, there are certain priorities in everyone's life, but for me,
1000%.
I'm taking time off and
Yeah.
I have to prioritize that. So the decision, I think, and I think Brendan is the similar mindset too. You have to prioritize. Your family always comes first,
Absolutely.
but if you don't do that, then no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
So, the biggest challenge for me, and I think he would probably agree too, is setting those boundaries because you dictate how clients will react with you in this transition, and you dictate when you're available and when you're with your family. The job doesn't dictate that.
Yeah.
As much as, yes, we work on nights and weekends and all of that.
Sure.
I have control over that. So the biggest challenge is just taking the reins on that, really, and saying, I am my own leader. I do pick my own schedule. Like I have control, and that's the best thing. I think it's hard because this industry can kind of take you by the reins and want to run you with it a lot too.
Sure.
So that's been the biggest challenge, that natural work-life balance that everyone always strives for. There's no perfection in it, but the reality is if I'm giving my kids a bath, I'm not answering my phone. And it's okay to go to voicemail. Like, and there's a couple of those things. I'll get back to it. But that being said, on the other hand, when I did go on maternity leave, I mean, I still made money those 3 months that I was on maternity leave.
Sure.
Because things I started, I had teammates that could carry it to closing or take that lead and go. Was the structure different? Sure.
Yeah.
But we were able to kind of line that up. So I took 4 months off. Like,
that's awesome.
Did not pick up a phone call with clients for 4 months, and that I didn't want to take. So, I mean, I was itching to get back for sure, but yeah, it's all in you choose. You choose how you want your life to look, really, and who you want to run your life, you or your job. And
I love that you brought up I think the biggest verbal misconception in real estate is work-life balance. And Gary talks about it in The One Thing, and I was watching a video. The great Jack Welch, who I think passed away last year, he was the CEO of GE. He was on stage with Gary Vaynerchuk, and somebody in the crowd asked about work-life balance. And you sort of, if you know Gary V at all, Gary Vaynerchuk sort of sat up, and I'm like, oh, he's going to take this, and he's going to drop the F-bomb in the first 13 seconds. And actually, Jack Welch leaned forward, who's like the polar opposite of him, older, Brooks Brothers pants, a button-down shirt, and he's like, I'll take this one. Yeah. And he goes, kids, honest to God, it's bullshit. And it was amazing to hear that come out because he's rarely doing that where Gary Vee swears every other word, right? And he's like, it's about choices. Every day you decide what's most important. And I was just having this conversation this morning with somebody. Steve Jobs was most proud of all the things he said no to when he came back to Apple. Because when he was gone from Apple, they were trying to do everything, right? It was they were making tents and beach balls, and he came back. He's like, nope. There's going to be these things called AirPods. We're going to make an iPad. We're going to have a notebook that hopefully Stephanie will buy, but I think she bought a Chromebook. We're going to, I'm joking. We're going to get it down to like 5 things that we're going to do at a high level. And I think to your point, obviously with your growing family, and we say this all the time, if you're saying yes to something in your business, you're probably saying no to something in your personal life. And getting really good at this, and I think people struggle with this every day, is everybody wakes up with their list of to-dos, right? And Gary says we don't should all over yourself every day. Well, I should do all these things, right? There's a list of things every day that we feel we need to do, and it's going through that do, delegate, dump. Here's what Steph has to be present for. She's the licensed agent. She has to be part of this conversation. There are certainly things on your plate every day that there he is. Hey, buddy.
It's funny. He couldn't.
I can't keep my face off the camera. The amount of money that she's going to
You are so good looking. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
So the amount of money that she's going to owe me for this computer rental is going to buy me my new computer.
Rental.
That's good. That's called leverage, Timmy. Leverage.
If I were you, I think she needs to drive you down the hill later, and she's going to get. What is the name of the Chinese restaurant across the street from you guys that I've never been to that you guys say I shouldn't go to? Is it okay?
I never said you shouldn't go to it.
Oh, maybe I couldn't remember if you... Are they your
We go there
friends?
all
Are they
the time.
I
watching?
had it
Yeah.
on Sunday, all right?
Brendan's
Yeah,
a
but what kind of
frequent there.
Chinese restaurant is it? Could you go in and get a cocktail, or is it straight up like you're just buying
Um,
box lunches and leaving? Is there a bar?
We'll go somewhere else for a cocktail.
Go up somewhere else for a cocktail.
All right.
Grab Rangoons, go for it.
I appreciate the honesty. Excellent.
There you go.
All right,
Yeah, and
have a
then
good one.
Yeah.
You guys later.
see you,
Yeah.
bud. There's definitely gonna be things on that list that somebody else should
Yeah.
be doing and delegated, right? And then there's stuff
Yes.
on that list that you shouldn't ever touch, right? So, and it's really being
And-
decisive about that, right?
I always say, yeah, and I always say, I mean, this is not perfection. Like, and we are obviously big on social media and stuff, but
Sure.
I think there's a big social media is a lot of facade. My life could look like sunshine and roses, and my kids have their stuff together, and I know what I'm doing. But a lot of it is the Friday afternoon going, okay, I have an open house and 2 showings on Saturday. Who's going to watch the kids when I'm gone? And
right.
my husband has something. It's a scramble, and
Right.
that's reality. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not this perfect schedule that lines itself up. I mean, I didn't expect that, and I don't think people should. But
Yep.
it's also a decision of if you want to make like choices and prioritize your family, you can,
Yep.
and that's the biggest thing. So.
What's the part of your life right now, whether it's business or personal, that 5 years ago you, and appropriately enough, because I know you just celebrated 5 years with the team, 5 years ago you would have never thought that would be a thing that you'd have, or that you had done?
You're talking like from a work perspective or a personal perspective. I'm just thinking.
Pick a
I never
category,
thought-
something that you.
I'm building a house right now. I mean, that kind of goes back.
Okay.
That could go back to financials. That could go back
Sure.
to anything. I never would have thought. I mean, I wouldn't have known the prices to build a house 5 years ago would have been where they
You
are.
picked a great time. I hear
right there.
materials are dirt cheap. Keep going. Yeah.
Perfect time.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
great.
building a house right now that in the height of this season, and
Right.
I never thought I would have been able to do that. And this job as a whole has afforded me that. The ability to do choices midweek with my kids if I want to. I can have that choice to do that. But no, I mean, outside of that, goals. I remember when I started, if I told myself if I made $100,000 a year, I'd be happy.
Right.
And that's, I think, the 6-digit thing that everyone says. And not to get into too many specific dollar things, but that where I've come and where I've gone from there,
Sure.
that is what is probably the biggest surprise to me. Like, holy crap, you do put more work into something and it comes back to you.
Well, and I think the important thing for people to remember, and I know obviously everybody who's made the choice to get into real estate and come play with us here, is that unlimited potential that we sort of lose sight of. I think, I was just having this conversation this week with somebody about that article that was in Forbes probably 4 years ago that the average American said 75 is good. But when you talk to the average American in a corporate environment, 75 is before 401k, before medical, before all the things. 75 is not going home.
Yeah.
And when you guys get in here, and like to your point, I would love 3 numbers before the comma, and then you do that, and that becomes your new normal, right? And like and being a proven capper and being an agent on a team that's doing $1 million in GCI, and you're part of a mega agent office, and all the things that you've accomplished. And I think people lose sight of the fact that, to your point, there's still a grind. Right, because you guys have a phenomenal social media presence, and one of the things you did within the last couple of years, and I think you do one every year, is you have the B-roll. And so Stephanie's out on the boat, and you guys are shooting your stuff, and of course during the year we see all the drop-ins of all the perfection, where you're talking about this house or this part of the lake or town docks or whatever, and then you guys amalgamate every screw up that you had. And you have the B-roll of all your F-ups. And that the authenticity of that is what people are drawn to. You probably get more views, likes, and hits and shares on that B-roll that you guys have every year of all your screw-ups, right?
Absolutely. It's the relatability factor. I mean, and again, not to bring it back to social media and that people can have a social media and create this big facade that life is perfect and life is great. There's also that other half of people, though, that want that reality. I mean, there's that reality of, our life isn't always leaning against a real estate sign that says sold. Like, you didn't see me with my boots trying to dig the hole to put the sign in the ground for an hour in the middle of winter. Like, you don't see that. You don't see the certain things. So it's, to that point, the exponential growth is amazing, but that doesn't mean that the grind and the hustle has slowed down. Yeah. So I think I'm working just as hard differently
Yeah.
but working just as hard now as I was when I was selling mulch and houses at the garden center. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality.
Right. I love that you brought up your thing about the phone, and if the boys are in the tub, you're locked and loaded as a mom and you're not taking the call. And Nate's been really good about that. When I first started, I think I went about 27 minutes before I shut my ringer off, right? And to this day, if you look real close on an iPhone, you know what I'm talking about. That's deployed. It's in silent mode. It has been. And I think if you remember the show that was on HBO, Entourage, Ari was always walking around, and we all are. My phone is on my desk, and I'm probably in the office more than you guys are. You're out running around, but you're all marching around with your talking machine. And when I'm at a kitchen table or in a conference table or sitting with a client, I trust that you don't want the phone to be binging and chiming and ringing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nathan was very clear about this. And I don't know when he actually really committed to it, but I know I got here. I mean, we turned 18 this summer. Right. So it's been 2004 is when he started this little party of ours. Right. So I got here in 2010, and it was then he's like, you know, I might get to you later if you got a question when I was just getting started. He goes, but when I get home, this goes on my dresser face down, and I'm with the wife and kids. And that's and he did that, and he was able to do that, and we're still here. So if the guy that dug the hole that we filled with water and the well we all get to drink from was committed to that kind of privacy and being present, right? That's a big part of this.
Absolutely.
You know, when you're home, be home, right?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I sometimes get my best work done between 7 and 9 at night when I'm in bed. The kids are asleep. I mean, that's how you want to prioritize your schedule and what works for you. Like, it doesn't mean I'm home at 5 and I never touch my phone again. That's a lie. But at the same time, if I need to be present for my kids, and unfortunately my kids took a little bit more of a priority than my husband. You know, my husband, I would answer the phone with my husband. That was just whatever.
He's able to bathe himself at this point, though. We've got him there. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's that. I mean, you do what works for you. I'm a believer in that in all aspects. Everyone's going to have a different method, but in this industry, there is a way to have a family, to go on vacation, to do the things. Yeah. And if anything else, if it's a team that leverages that for you, you know, as if you're an individual agent, find another individual agent. There's a way to do it. And I think if anything, that's been the message that I've always tried to tell people is it's your choices that you make. So
yeah. Well, so when I was in production, we didn't yet have Command. We were working with, it was Market Leader / E-Edge. Before that was Red Tools, which I will always joke was the best Russian CRM ever, right? Yeah, Red Tools. And I remember, dinner had happened. Our short people were in bed, and I would sit, whatever the hell the wife and I were watching, but I'd work on my database then, so I completely agree with that. And I think the other thing that's really important, too, is, and this was in my first ever Bold, I was sitting next to Kathy O'Rourke, phenomenal agent, and she said to me, she goes, I will craft an email at all hours, but I will send it. I will draft it, and you can do this: draft and then schedule send, because they don't need this information from me. But I'm not gonna. I'm in the thought process now. I'll craft the email to Steph tonight, but I don't want her to know I'm working right now. So it will hit her inbox at 4:47 a.m. So because she won't be awake, and she'll be like, "Wow, she's ambitious. She's up doing deep knee bends and sending emails at 4:47." You can always communicate on your own terms, and. Yeah, talk to me about this, because I'm sure you went through this when you were still, and I say young and single, you guys are married, but there's no short people. It was a little more freedom to, wag your finger at your husband and be like, just 1 second. Yeah. How did you guard your time even then? Because I know there's a lot of new agents that are thinking, how do I defend my time now when I don't really have the excuse, because I'm not a dad, I'm not a mom yet. But you're getting that agent that shoots you the text, and I say this with love, you're dumb enough to respond. It's after hours. You should let it sit, because what's the rule in real estate? We know no one's going to die. Yep. There are no real emergencies in real estate, right? And if we're communicating consistently at a high level, we've probably already dispelled all that, right? And they're texting, and I appreciate this because I believe it to be true. They're like, hey, can we jump on the phone? And then you take it to the next level, and now you've let this person break down the barrier of, I texted her at 7:45. Now we're having a conversation about real estate at 8:20. And even when you were young and married, without kids, your husband's looking at you like, what are we doing now? What are we doing right now? We're supposed to be watching The Bachelorette, or whatever. So talk to me about that. How did you, do you still struggle with that? And I think most people do, but how have you curbed that? What expectations have you set?
I think it's always going to be a struggle. It's because you just always have to choose. It's like I don't want to say it's an addiction, but it's like your phone can become an addiction. Checking your email can become that
1,000%.
addiction.
Yep.
So it's almost like just, the constant choice, just like an alcoholic or a drug addict or anything else.
Yeah.
Like they make that constant choice. And I sat a lot of times out at dinner with my husband, scribbling on a napkin, doing this at the table. And I look back and I'm like, what did I do? Like, but the long story is, I think, if just to your point, what you said, I learned at some point, either you don't answer the phone and you call them back when you're on your way home from dinner or whenever you set that time, or you don't answer the text. I think the biggest thing is I'm okay with not answering a text immediately if I'm in the middle of whatever. I still abide by that. It doesn't mean I didn't get it. I'll reply at a reasonable time.
Yeah.
I also kind of set a rule that for most questions, if I email especially, I'll get back to you within 12 hours. And I think that's a reasonable time frame. Now, if it's a negotiation or something, there's always exceptions.
Sure.
But a 12-hour response to me is reasonable. Some people will say 24. To me, 12 is just my standard that I go with. So I think between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., I'll be able to get back to you at some point in that day, and I'll schedule that time. And I started that rule in my brain about getting back to people, and that's been the most helpful for my brain. Like, it's only been a couple hours. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, and I think a lot of us get on this struggle bus, and I try to remind people on a regular basis, it is very difficult to manage expectations that you never set in the beginning. Right. And you're allowed to. And even our veteran agents hear this. And when we start to have these conversations and try to change people's thinking, whether it's an agent that was 10 years with another firm and they come here and we're having more conversations about putting your family first and all that kind of stuff. I think they're like, well, I've been working with this one client, Ted, and I could never say that to him. No, you can decide tomorrow, right? It's one of the bold laws. We teach people how to treat us, right? And you could tomorrow set a new standard. Yeah. And that's just the rule. Like, because at some point, as your team continued to grow, Bree used to show up at a kitchen table. Then it was Bree and Brendan. Then it was Bree, Brendan, and you. Then it was Brendan and you, right? And because now the way you function, correct me if I'm wrong, and I usually am. My wife sells those shirts at timswrong.com. I bought her the domain for her birthday. Without fail, I know that you guys, Bree, yourself, Brendan, I always want to feel like I'm screwing up her name. It's Cassie. Yes, Cassie. Yep. And Haskell the Rascal. I know you guys all go and you can take listings and take buyers. You guys all can do your own business. You're there to support each other. Yep. So in that environment, at some point, it got to a point where Bree's like, okay, and breaking up, like, are you the queen of Wolfboro, where she focuses on Moultonboro, and Brendan is in charge of X, Y, or Z? How do you guys decide? I mean, you're obviously working your own people in your own spheres and your organic database. Yep. Do you lean on each other's excellence in certain zip codes?
Absolutely.
To what extent?
Yeah. And I mean, again, there's always that gray area. Sometimes, if something comes in to the team and it's a better personality connection for some reason, or someone works with my husband, something like that.
Sure.
There's always discretionary, but in general, the geographic stuff we do lean on just because there are areas of expertise. The personality thing you feel out. Again, if it's our client, we do buyers and sellers. So I'll follow my client wherever they go. They could sell us something in Wolfboro, buy something in Plymouth, and go back to Portsmouth. They're mine from the start, buy or sell. And that's just to maintain the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's worked well for us too. I mean, ultimately we drive all over the place anyway. So it's kind of that's part of the job. But yeah, I think for us, that was the level of customer service we felt we had to establish. Is once you start to know somebody, we don't want to hand you off to someone else.
1,000%. Sure.
And I know that some teams work that way, and it's fine. They have a buyer's agent, a seller's agent. They'll pass that person.
Yeah.
Accordingly. It just didn't feel right for us. And we kind of function differently. We still, when we go to listing appointments, it's usually never just one person. We always have at least two of us, whether that's Brendan and I, or Bree and I, or Bree and Brendan, because we do feel like it's the value of having just another opinion is so.
Well, I immediately, as a consumer, it's impactful because I now know, once you finish telling your story, I know there's a myriad of people back at the office kicking ass for me and my family. But when there's two people at the kitchen table, right? And initially for leverage for Bree, I trust when you and Bree were at the table and you were just getting started, but she was ultimately going to hand it off to you. You could always lean back at what we call the Glover effect. Jeff Glover always did this with his team out in Detroit. Like once Jeff was at the kitchen table, you could always after that say, so I was talking to Bree this morning, and we think the logical next step is for you guys to do X.
Oh,
And they just know, well, look, Bree was there. She's not Steph Steph's not making her up. She was there. I know she talks to her all the time. What Steph says is what Bree says, and they're the smartest two real estate people we know. Whatever you say, Steph, right? It's a lot of leverage for you guys.
Yeah, and then Bree, I mean, obviously she can't be everywhere at once too, but if we feel like it's a
She's
situation
working on
where
that though. Yeah.
Yeah.
She wants to be in Center Harbor and Mexico at the same time. No, she doesn't.
Yeah, she's going to clone herself at some point to be in those warm places.
Yeah.
But yeah, to her point, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Either way. She can't be everywhere. But if we feel like a client always knows that she's involved, and she is involved. She's up to date on whether through our meetings or we update her on what's going on. And then if we need to hop on a Zoom or a phone call, she'll hop on the call. Like she's not like this elusive person that isn't there. She's very much involved, and it helps. It's just helpful to bounce ideas off of people, if nothing else. So
now I know this is going to obviously create some aggravation for some people, but like the elephant in the room when you guys were getting started was, and I think it's a misconception across the board with a lot of our teams that play around the water, is well, it's like Life Realty. Everything they sell has 2 decimal points. And it's funny because if you watch your social media, and I see it all the time, it's you guys occasionally, God forbid, in front of a colonial that's not $1 million, right? Just a regular old house in New Hampshire, you know? What was your challenge? Because it's very real. You guys probably missed a lot of at-bats because people are like, oh, I'm not going to bother Lake Life Realty. It doesn't have 2 decimal points. It's not next to Mitt Romney. It's not on the water, right?
We still get it, not as often, but we get it every couple months. Someone will have the comment at a listing appointment of, we weren't sure if we're kind of embarrassed to have you out here. We were like, why? This is a $500,000 ranch in Moultonboro that's probably going to sell for $700,000.
Right.
It was something that we're getting older, but our age thing.
Don't you dare say that in my presence. Keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but those are the things that we still hear on a consistent.
Yeah.
If we're going to get feedback, it's either experience based on age, because that is.
That's to me, and again, from the moment she started, you guys are like 7-ish years old, and time on task can beat talent anytime, right? Like you guys have been grinding and selling an inordinate amount of property, like the volume and the amount, is crazy. I'm shocked to hear that. I'm sure other people are shocked to hear that you actually get the experience. If Brendan would let his hair grow, it might be gray. We just don't know anymore.
I mean,
right?
he ages us a little bit by his hair, but and that's the reality. I think people think it's like, again, sunshine and roses, but we still have those same challenges of we get to a kitchen table. Nothing we would have said may show lack of experience or anything, but I think they're comparing us to the 65-year-old, 70-year-old counterpart that may have come in before us, and they go, they've been selling real estate part-time for 16 plus years, or something.
There's a lot of Q-tips skating around the lake. Yes. Well, yeah.
So we get the age thing, and then we also got that pushback with the numbers, and
it's amazing.
And we can't change our name. I mean, we're not changing our name. That's the reality of it. But we always kind of counter match that with, we sell the things we've sold. We sell land to beautiful homes, but it's the lifestyle in general. It doesn't have to be on the lake. You're experiencing the same scenario. So it is a battle we still fight. I don't think it's ever going to completely go away, but it is, it's just something we've found responses to it that have worked, and kind of keep moving forward. That's all we can do.
So here's my concern, because I've always told Bree, if Nate ever gets tired of me, I'll come intern for you guys, because it just looks like a lot of fun, and you can pick on me and all that stuff. Yeah. Is it a prerequisite that I have to get a dog?
Probably. I mean, no, I don't even know. No, Ashley doesn't have a dog. So.
Oh, interesting. Because I know Haskell just got Buddy. Yeah. I feel like everyone has a golden retriever, though. That seems to be like that's the go. For
the most part, we kind of started that. No, I mean, no, we all have dogs. We have a love of animals, but No prerequisites, but
Okay.
we are a dog friendly environment for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I won't bring the cats up if I go into an internship program with
No.
Lake Life. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about how you guys utilize because that's one thing. Like even if I'm not saying I'm not a dog person, we don't have any dogs, love animals,
Yep.
but the stop the scroll power of you guys when you're doing dog events. And I know you guys have done a lot of different things. What is
Yep.
whether it's a dog event coming up or I know you guys historically do something around the ice out, which I know we actually just iced in. It feels like just a couple of weeks ago, but the ice out is coming. How often do you guys drop your major events? You've got Food Truck Tuesdays, which I trust will be back. How much do you leverage that kind of stuff where you're able to get away from lead generation and really lean into lead invitation? You've got something to invite people to, and it just makes it an easier conversation. What's next for you guys?
Well, we have a landscaping. The biggest thing is we were very big on in-person events.
Sure.
That was one thing that we had to really shift and adjust our event schedule. Before it used to be forever. It was once a month. I mean, and we still try to follow that rule of one event a month.
Sure.
The scale of those will adjust a little bit. We've had to shift and, not everything's in person. So the Food Truck Tuesdays came about as part of there's nothing to eat here on Tuesdays in this area. Nothing is open.
Really?
So nothing is
not
open.
even the Chinese place across the street.
No, everybody shuts down on Tuesdays.
Really?
So that was one reason. Another thing was
it was outside too. It's
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah.
fresh air, and people feel safer
Exactly.
because
Exactly. So that prompted that to start. Our dog events, though, that one is a virtual one that's kind of started because people love their animals. I mean, people sometimes love their animals.
1,000%. Yep.
I mean, obscenely more than they even sometimes love their
Sure.
children.
Yeah, it's their person. Yeah.
So if
Yep.
you can find something that people get passionate about and then capitalize it and double down on that, which I feel like we have with the dog contest. If it's not just we send them their bandana. By sending them their bandana, we now have their contact info.
Yep.
Then we can go ahead and send us a picture of your favorite thing. People love that. And you're going to get a year bark box if you win. It gets people the opportunity to vote and all of that. So events, I think our goal is still the pavilion's going to open up some more outdoor space, so maybe people can feel comfortable. We literally moved into this office in January of 2020, right before COVID started. So our goal to have all these events here was kind of a little bit like shot down just physically.
It's coming to a theater near us. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've had to shift. We have a landscaping Lake Life, a partnership between Stevens Landscaping and us, talking about, regulations on the waterfront, things that you can do and off the water. But it's always questions. Everyone gets those questions of what you can do. That always was in person. Last year it was completely virtual and we had a great attendance. This year it's going to be a hybrid. So that's coming up at the end of the month. But long story short, we're sticking to the monthly event schedule is there, and then we kind of smatter it with other things in between.
So I love that you brought up the lake. If anybody's ever headed up to beautiful downtown Chickenboro, there's a sign as you get there, and I say that with love. It's a term of endearment. You know that. You get there, and there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Wolfboro, America's oldest summer resort." So in that line of thinking, because I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, I vacation there. So, and we know for Bree, it's Mexico, then usually Mexico, then maybe Mexico again. But for you guys, like, where do you go? Because it would be like, God, you're on vacation the whole time, but you're not, because you want to divorce yourself from the environment where you're always grinding, and you can't really enjoy yourself if you bump into people like, oh my God, got a question about real estate. You're like, I'm trying to peace out. So where do you and your family go? And maybe some other team members, like how far away do you have to get? For me, historically, because everybody's like, we're in New Hampshire, you can go to Lake Winnipesaukee, go to Maine. I'm like, if I bump into Troy Williams on vacation, it's not a vacation. And I grew up going to the Cape, so we've always gone to the Cape. To me, that's going over that bridge is cathartic and it's a way. Where do you need to go, even though you are living in one of the most beautiful parts of the country? Where do you go to get away?
This probably isn't the answer you would love to hear, but in the summertime, in the prime season, I don't leave this area. And it's because, and I say that not because of work, but because we have a boat.
It's amazing.
We love spending time out there. For me, it's more about unplugging and getting on my boat and not answering if it's a couple days where I don't, I'm going to, check out and go do that. We'll do that. I mean, so wintertime, we still travel more just because it's not as great. in the winter. In my opinion.
Yeah, and the Chinese restaurants closed on Tuesdays. What are they thinking? Yeah, how dare you?
Mud season isn't great. I mean, we go, but we venture off. I mean, Bree is the traveler more so than Brendan and I are kind of both similar in the sense that we're somewhat homebodies. Yep. But Bar Harbor is a beautiful spot. I know that's not. It's 4 hours is enough. Anything.
Yes.
You have to feel like you plug in your computer.
Yep.
Is usually good enough.
Sure.
Selfishly, I need to go somewhere soon because I haven't been anywhere since before I was pregnant, and I'm like, sign me up. But for just the warmth, but it sounds cliche, but literally, I love where I live, and why would I in the summertime? I'm like, where would I go that's going to make me happier than being on the lake and in this environment? I mean, so that's a little cliche, but it's very true.
Yeah, so happy that you joined us today. So leave us with one more nugget of knowledge. Steph ran into Steph, and you were able to warn yourself. You go back to day 2. What would you tell you just getting started, whether it's your first day before you would officially joined Lake Life, or what do you know now that if you could go back and just tweak a couple of activities, it might have made your trajectory even faster? And I say this as fair warning to all the freshmen that have joined us recently, right? I mean, Nate would say database. Nate knows he dropped the ball on his database. It was like cocktail napkins and 3M notes in his F-150, and he should have put that together smarter earlier. So for you, what would that be?
I think, to speak to database a little bit, I think because I hopped onto that team aspect, I mean, I have my personal database, but we had a collective, that foundation was there a little bit with database, so that helped. I think going back, for me, it's probably more of a confidence thing at the time. So if I could go back and say, I knew I had the ability to work hard, respond to people. That's why I jumped careers, because I said, I want control over my destiny, for lack of a better term. But I think it's trust yourself and know if you continue to be consistent with the activities you're doing, regardless of what that is, whether it's involvement in your community, whether it's cold calling, whatever you choose and you like, find your niche, do it, because it's going to make the process more enjoyable. But I would say just trust, just keep your head down and do it. I mean, because it only goes up from there. I mean, there wasn't like this weird thing where I switched a light bulb on and like, oh, I'm going to make money today. No, it was a progression, and it's a foundation I had to build, but I haven't stopped. So you have to treat it like a business. I always did that from the get-go. I don't really work from home. I come to the office 5 days a week. For me, I need that. Not everybody needs that, but it's do what works for you, but it's trust yourself in the beginning, because if you just keep on that path. So.
Well, I love that you brought that up too, because there's that big long line before the trajectory takes off that I refer to as embracing the suck. Like you just have to know these things that I don't, they're not natural for me to do. They're clunky and they feel like they're not working. Yet I've heard from Gary to Nathan to Brad to Steph to Bree to Adam, like anybody in the company that's in front of them, Lewis and Clark in it, like just keep doing those things. And it's eventually going to click. And to your point, if you find your genius zone, it's going to make more sense for you, and it's going to be a little less arduous, and it's going to get you there. Steph, we really appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, really 1,000%. And if you're on the lake, you don't want to make cold calls anyway.
Yeah, you got to find what works for you and then plug into it and go. Yeah. So
awesome.
But I really appreciate. Thank you for the time. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
You know what? Get rid of the Chromebook. Yeah, thank you to Brendan Conley for letting him borrow your.
I'm gonna get a bill in the mail.
Yeah, probably.
Put a little sign on you that says this episode sponsored by Brendan Connolly.
Brought to you by Brendan's Ego. Steph, thank you so much again. If you need Brad Kelly or his team at Andy Mac Home Mortgage, it's 603-396-3198. And don't bother Brad in the next couple of days because he's packing because we're leaving soon.
Oh, and just to keep up the trend, good news. While we were talking, rates actually went up again. No, for real. I got an alert to lock.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. So like I said, if you're working with a buyer, tell them to wait faster. All right, guys. Have a great weekend.